Reese Kiwi Talks Riley, who does interviews with a lot of different developers, but is best known for his interviews with developers from retro studios, talking about Metroid games primarily. Those are the ones that tend to make the news. Has come out and said some stuff about the current status of Metroid Prime 4. He made a pretty lengthy social media post kind of just laying out all of the things that he has heard and believes to be true, and it's kind of stirred up a bit of a conversation about, if maybe the game is going to get delayed again or something. But I'm just going to kind of summarize what he's saying here. He claims that the game was originally going to be a cross-gen launch title for Switch. Not a brand new idea. I myself tried to theorize the same thing, and it is possible that at some point Nintendo did want to do that. And that could be why we had those ads at like the London train station that claimed the game was out now. It would make sense. Like, why would they already be printing materials saying out now? If they didn't at some point have some plan to release it earlier. So it's very much a possibility, but he claims that the game has hit some kind of a snag. He refers to it as an anomaly, a development anomaly, like in the actual like development of the game itself. I don't know if this is like a technical anomaly or like just a design anomaly or something. He's very mysterious the way he puts it. He says that this same anomaly has come up with all of the other games. So, which, my mind, I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what that could possibly mean if it's an anomaly, but it's been an anomaly every time. So it's somehow expected for it to happen again, yet not expected because you still call it an anomaly. I don't know. But he says in this case, the anomaly is more serious, especially because a second anomaly that is, quote, seeped into the first one. So I guess this anomaly is worse than before because it has kind of unintentionally created a second anomaly. Again, very, very mysterious, very hard to imagine what that could possibly mean, and yet also very specific, really specific. And anytime when it comes to rumor people and leakers and whatnot, specifics do speak of confidence. They really do. That's a very particular little detail there. In one of the replies, someone asked if this is the kind of thing that could come to light eventually, and he said Nintendo would definitely not ever talk about this. Like, if they end up doing like a dev diaries, developer interview kind of thing, this is not the sort of thing that Nintendo would want to reveal. I guess it could be too revealing about their development process overall, or something about the tech, the engines they put into it. I don't know. And he talks about all of the weirdness with, the game was announced so long ago, and then they finally gave us new info, but now it's getting late in the year and we're kind of waiting for a release date. We don't even know if it's coming this year. And, he talks about how Nintendo is kind of trying to maintain a balance where they want to give us some updates. They want the fans to know that, yes, the game is still coming, but they don't want to overpromise. They don't want to share too much, and then we have to wait super duper long, and then the more they share, then the weirder it becomes when we don't. I mean, and I understand that. That's completely true. Like, all of these years, we've just been like, we just want like a little taste. Let us know that it's coming. But at the same time, yeah, looking back, it is easier to see that, like, if the more they gave us, the weirder it would be that it has still taken this long. It just could be they had a lot of work to do. And he says that we're kind of in this situation because there was such a backlash to Federation Force that they were really encouraged to encourage the fans that Metroid was not dead. Because I remember that. I remember, like, Federation Force flopping pretty horribly. People did not respond very well to it, and just being like, okay, well, this series is dead now. Like, series dead forever. So Nintendo really did want to let us know that things are okay, and that kind of led to them revealing Metroid Prime 4 a little bit too early. I mean, really, Samus Returns itself would have helped. Like, that helped all by itself. Even if Metroid Prime 4 wasn't a part of the picture, that was still pretty good. But I guess they really wanted to do right by us. They really wanted us to know that Metroid was still a thing. So they revealed it earlier than they normally would have, and then I think just a complete bad coincidence that happened. You know, they're like, okay, normally we like to wait a little bit longer to reveal a game when we're a little bit closer to releasing it. Okay, we'll break the rule this time just to let people know it's coming and get people even more psyched about the Switch as a whole. And then that just happened to be the game where they had this horrible problem, worked on it for 2 years, and then had to restart development. And then the game itself apparently has just ended up being a very big, lengthy game to develop. So it's kind of like it's the perfect storm that has led to all of this. So they have had to balance all of that. So yeah, I certainly understand all of that. But then Reese goes on to say that despite this anomaly, whatever it is, the game is very, very close to being done. He says it's just about done. He says to keep an eye out for a rating in Germany. He says that in Germany, a game cannot be rated unless it is 100% done, whereas in other territories, it only needs to be like a high percentage. I have not verified that myself, but it would be nice to know that. If we knew that when a game was rated in Germany, that means that like it's totally done and just waiting to release. That's cool. And but yeah, we really don't know. And then he goes on to talk about how the Nintendo of old was a little bit more desperate. You know, back in like the GameCube era, especially, they did rush a lot of games. You know, Super Mario Sunshine, kind of a buggy mess, kind of a design mess. Wind Waker shipped without a whole bunch of the content that they had wanted to do. And then Metroid Prime 1 came out, and then they got Metroid Prime 2 out like really, really soon after, reused a lot of the same assets. And it's a really great game, but they apparently they crunched like crazy to get it done. So it was really not a good scenario. But now this Nintendo is a lot more confident. It's a lot more patient. It has a lot more games coming at any given time, so they can really afford to just take their time. And he says that sometimes they'll get done with a game and then just sit on it for a while. They'll just sit on it until a good chance to reveal it. I mean, I don't know. Is that why we're getting so many leaks? Because some of these games are getting done and then they're just sitting there, and the longer you wait, the more likely it is that this information will leak in some way. But he says they'll just sit on it in case, if there's an anomaly with a different game, some other game that was going to come out, it has to get delayed. So, good thing we have this here. You know, we can put this out in the meantime. And I don't know, it kind of sort of makes sense, I suppose. That could be a thing. So anyway, yeah. And he says a delay is possible, but he doesn't really know for sure. He just believes that the game has hit some sort of snag. And if that is true, and if Nintendo has been kind of scrambling to figure out, scrambling to get it done and then figure out when it comes out, then yeah, it could be that it's very possible that it could be delayed into next year. So yeah. First, let's just touch on, can we believe this guy? You know, his credentials. He's done interviews with a lot of retro studios developers and other ones as well. But, that's kind of one of the main things. And it could absolutely be that he still has connections with some of them. I mean, if you have a history of talking to employees from a certain studio and then suddenly you claim to have really specific information about a game coming from that studio, then they would suggest that, yes, he's talking to some of these people. But then, as always, that begs the question, why would they tell him? Nintendo employees are very, very, very tight-lipped. They shouldn't be telling anyone anything. But then to, have a friend who is gonna spill the beans. You know that this person, their biggest claim to fame is that they have insider information about secrets that the Nintendo doesn't want us to know. Why would you tell that person? I don't know. It could be that he's got connections with an ex-employee who quit recently, but knows what happened. Or maybe it's a person who used to work at the company who is still connected to someone who does, and then the person who does shared with the person who doesn't, thinking they would keep it a secret, but then they told him. We really, really do not know. But yeah, it's especially weird here if this is also a development, a piece of information that he's confident Nintendo would not ever even share in a dev diary. Yeah, why would anyone tell him this? Sure, it's not specific. He doesn't claim to know specifically. He's not trying to tell us specifically, but it's still weird. It's still a little bit weird, but it is at the same time possible. He's had other, he's given us other details about stuff before that ended up being true. So I don't know. And yeah, like we already said, it is possible that Nintendo themselves still doesn't quite know when the game is coming, or maybe they only recently figured it out. They're just playing it safe. They're making sure that when they give us a date, they can be 100% confident in that date. Maybe they don't even want to give us a date at all until the game is buttoned up and done. Wrapped up with a bow and shipped off. Like, it has gone gold. It has gone gold 3 times over. They've just made 100% sure. Maybe we won't even get a date until they do that, because they know this is kind of a delicate situation. We've been waiting for so long. And because we've been waiting for so long, who's going to complain if Nintendo next month gives us a release date at the next Nintendo Direct, or even just like today on social media or whatever, and just says, it's coming, I don't know, it's coming in a week. It's just like, whatever. At this point, it doesn't even matter. As long as it still comes within this year, sometime in the next few months, like, we are good. You can make that release date pretty soon in the future. We won't complain. But as for the idea of it potentially being delayed, it's possible. And, not gonna lie, could be pretty disappointing. Hearing that there may be some sort of snag, it's alarming. It definitely is. I trust that Nintendo will be able to fix it. And again, it's possible they already did. It could be that it was going to be a launch title and it getting pushed to later in the year. Maybe that was the delay. Maybe that was the response to the anomaly, and now it's done with. It's just about done. You want to say, as long as it comes eventually, then I'm good. I can be patient, but how many times does eventually need to get pushed? They're doing their best. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. It's just we've been saying that for so long as it comes eventually. And when they finally revealed it last year, and they gave us a this year date, finally. Finally, it's almost over. It's coming out next year. Maybe it'll even come early next year. Maybe, and then now it's almost the end of next year, and it may be next year. If it came out next year, that would be a total of 9 years of development. It'd be a lot. It would be a lot, because at some point you've been kind of traumatized by the process. You start to, you don't believe anything anymore, If it gets delayed again into next year, I just don't believe it. I just can't. Nope. 2027. I just make it 10 years total. I don't know. Obviously we shouldn't catastrophize. It probably is just coming sometime in the next few months or whatever. If it gets pushed into next year, maybe it'll just be in the first few months of next year. I don't know. But Nintendo is still insisting that it's coming out this year. It's still on the list of games that are coming this year. I know that could change, but at least for now it's fine. And they have said that it's going to be playable at Fan Expo Canada. I want to put more weight on that idea. Oh, if it's going to be playable, then it's definitely going to be coming soon, right? But no, it was playable at the, when they revealed all these, when they had the big direct. They had events, and it was already playable then. I have spoken with people who played the demo. It could just be that demo, so I guess technically that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You can have a demo pretty early in development. I don't know. Whatever. We just gotta wait and see. Almost at the finish line. One of these days we'll be there, and I am still excited. I am largely a different person now than I was back then. So, I don't know how it's gonna hit. I don't know if it's gonna hit the same as it might have back then. I honestly don't know. But I am excited to find out, because it still does look really, Really cool. And Samus has a third eye. And that's rad! The logo is a black hole and Samus has a third eye. Like, if anything was gonna keep me hyped for this game, it's that.